Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos number 8. This is a new book from Dark Horse Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Tay Brombo with art by Sully, colors by Patricio Delpeche, and letters by Didier Bidikar, based on an idea by James Tynion IV. As you remember, this is a two-part story about Adam Frankenstein, who we've been following. So, in the final chapter of this special two-parter, where Adam takes the reader through the horrors and tragedies of his early life and the beginning of the end of his first family and home. As the conflict happens here, there's a few allusions to Christopher in the art. I think definitely a very calculated. After the reveals of the last episode or the last issue, everything kind of comes to a foot, and I do appreciate the device of like telling the story via Frankenstein or Adam, typing out kind of a sort of a memoir, right? Kind of bringing us back into that world. Um, you know, Adam is probably one of the more interesting characters in the book. I can fully understand why you would want to do a two-parter on just his backstory. I think we should definitely look to see a little bit more of information. But since Adam is the last kind of member of the group to come in, there was not as much time, I feel, to bring out his backstory. And obviously, as Frankenstein, a classic character from literature, this is a great chance to kind of twist and turn that mythology, which I think it's very, very fun. Let's take a look at some of the preview art here. And Suli is a fantastic artist. I've read some of her other stuff, including the work at Dynamite for Maleficent. So I was very excited when she was announced for this two-parter. I just her work is very dynamic. As you can see, it can get very gruesome, as you can see from this middle page. And I love, as I mentioned before, just these little touches of like you see the red eyes, which are very reminiscent of Christopher's goggles. So obviously, like I said, that's probably very much what the artist was going for, right? I'm pretty sure this is all specifically to kind of tie back into the story. And you can see there's some pretty gruesome stuff that happens. Adam sometimes doesn't know his own strength. Does he's really not been in many positions where this blind rage just kind of takes over him. But I love the expressions in his face, as simple as they are, like just very simple lines, right? You go from this really gruff and blinded rage face to the expression of like, oh man, I fucked up. And then, like I said, blood everywhere. You kind of get to see this all around. Really, really interesting stuff. Beautiful cover as well. So I'm very excited about this book. I've been reading it and have been doing reviews for it since the beginning. So I'm kind of glad I'm finally able to catch up with this issue because this came out the week prior to the release of this video. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll definitely be covering Christopher Chaos more. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Rebel Moon, House of the Blood Axe number 3. This is a new book from Titan Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team. Of course, this is a story by Zack Snyder, written by Magdalene Visaggio, art by Clark Bint, colors by Francesco Segala, flats by Sabrina Del Grosso, and letters by N World's Design. Very, very excited to kind of continue on this journey. As I've mentioned in my previous reviews, I'm a big fan of the first film. I'm very much looking forward to the second film, and I believe the last issue of this should pretty much coincide with the release of the film on April 19th. So very interesting. I feel like how's the Blood X characters, and I don't want to spoil anything from the film, so I'll just say the Blood X characters are going to be a little bit more prevalent in the second part of the film. So it makes sense that we would have a mini series to kind of fold out and expand their world, and not just their world, but really the whole universe, right? We get to see how the motherland treats everyone. So in this issue, though, as war is looming on the horizon on the planet Shashu, the reluctant leader of the Blood Axe family is conflicted between living up to his father's domineering legacy and maintaining the peace. It is up to him to settle the conflicts within himself, his family, before the entire planet erupts into war. And Yeah, they've been put in a really tough position from the beginning here. Um, as we've seen, this book is full of like these moments where, as you build the world, you expand on the mythology and you expand on the lineage of the House of Blood Axe, this planet Shasu, that seems to be a very difficult place to live and navigate, right? And now they feels like as the motherland kind of um, brings in their own conflict. They're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I wonder how things are going to play out. One of the things that I've enjoyed the most is Clark Bent's art. It's just really fantastic. So let's go take a look at some of the preview pages. It can really switch on a dime, but just big expressions, big movements. I love the kind of like, I guess I'll call them camera angles for lack of better terminology on the page, but just the layouts are really cool, right? Um, I love the establishing shots because it's always good to remember in this planet, what are we dealing with, right? The Riverlands look very different to where we are in the palace and the kingdom. And then just these shots of like coming straight at you in the face, violence, guns, conflict, like just really putting the stakes all the way here as Darian kind of shows really no mercy to the invaders. But then we have the switch of the setting, and we're inside of the palace where things are very different, right? Darian's kind of out there doing things on his own, maybe really without the full consent of his father. So that brings things into conflict. But I think if you've seen the film, you probably agree that Darian may be in the right here, and I think that's kind of what we're trying to learn. Now, both siblings must make that choice as to how they will proceed going forward. So, quite enjoy this. I think if you're a fan of the film, you should definitely read this. It expands on the world. I know they've done like a novelization of the first film as well. So, like, they're definitely putting a lot of stuff out there to expand on this world because I think they understand that there's sci-fi is a really fun genre. So I don't know that you could ever have too many sci-fi stories. So hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Life is Strange, Forget Me Not, number 2. This is a new book from Titan Comics. Let's take a look at the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Zoe Thorogood with art by Claudia Leonardi, colors by Andrea Izzo, letters by Ann World Design. Uh, if you are a fan of this franchise, the Life is Strange franchise, this is a really nice kind of side story that follows Alex and Steph. But if you're not familiar with this, I think that my main recommendation for this book is that it's written by Zoe Thorogood, who is just a creator that kind of broke into comics and is really doing a lot of really cool stuff, which is one of the reasons that I'm following this book. I'm not really a fan of the games. I have read some other Life is Strange comics because I think they're fun. It's a really interesting concept of how things can kind of change and people have these sort of abilities. Anyways, but in this issue, Alex and Steph, uh, True Colors are touring the States. That's their band. When they cross paths with the little runaway Lily. That's kind of what we learned in the first issue. So this is really interesting because Lily has these really cool abilities um, that for some reason that she kind of takes in memories and she sees them really cool. Like the art looks really cool when Lily's doing her powers. That's all from the first issue. But in this issue, Lily has somehow taken on the painful memories of dozens of people. Tensions rise as the three race to the origins of each memory. Steph's past returns to haunt her present, and Alex, desperate to protect her, shoulders the burden and her grief. And in the depths of a dusty comic book shop, Alex will be forced to learn again how much the truth can hurt. Uh, yeah, I mean, I really think that um, setting up this character of Lily to meet up with these two people that are they're kind of touring on their band. They're having a little bit of conflict on their own. I think Lily can kind of see that. I think it just makes for a very interesting dynamic. In this issue, we get to hear and learn a little bit more about Lily and the pain that she's kind of taken in, all the memories, the sadness. But I think to me, what's very exciting is how all this is portrayed. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. And this is what I'm talking about, right? When Lily's abilities, and we see this little flashback, she talks about everything freezing over. We see this tree with all the memories, and then like just the highlight of how she's trying to show everything uh, to both Alex and Steph in their own different way. Uh, it just looks very cool on the page. I feel like this is something that visually you definitely need a media like this to really show you what things are going through. Obviously, memories are different. Memories are hard to put into paper, but I think the team, Leonardo and Izzo, are doing a really fun job of displaying that. And then we get to see, a little bit of conflict, a little bit of confrontation. We get to visit a comic shop, so that's always pretty cool. So yeah, this is a really fun book. I don't know that it's something that I would recommend to everyone to drop immediately, but I think if you're looking for something that's a little off the beaten path, this is something that you can really just kind of pick up, and you get enough information in both issue 1 and 2 to not really be lost. If you're a fan of the franchise, I think you'll definitely get more out of it. But yeah, I'm gonna keep reading Life is Strange because I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, big fan of Zoe Thurgood, and also now a big fan of Claudia Leonardi because of their amazing work. So very excited to see where this goes from here. I was able to pick up a really cool cover by Zoe Thurgood. You can check that out on Instagram, on our Instagram. So, hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Crave number 5. This is a new book from Image Comics. This is all done by Maria Lovett, which we've talked about before. We have the story, the art, everything in this book by one creator, which continues to just really amaze me. So, if you haven't read any of the previous issues, first of all, what are you doing in this video? Go check those out. This is about an app that will help you get whatever you desire. But of course, there's some malicious intent behind it. And of course, there's something going wrong because the app takes more than it actually gives. In this issue, though, Charlotte decides not to pursue her Crave request to hurt Alexandra. However, Crave has entered collab mode. Collaborative mode means anyone can help fulfill that craving. When Alex gets hurt, her friends must separate. Sophia and Albert go to Duncan's office to help stop Crave, while David tries to talk some sense into Charlotte before it's too late. Yeah, things really escalated in this issue after we went and visited the friend, and we got a little bit of a background on how they can maybe stop the app. But now the app feels like it's escalating things very quickly. I think Maria Lovett manages to bring that intensity and continue to keep the reader engaged by cranking the notch on the story, which is really cool. All that, of course, presented with some beautiful art. These characters, there's so much. There's so many interesting portrayals of here in the school, of these characters, of the pain that they're feeling, of like how things are getting out of control. So let's take a look at some of the preview art here. And as you can see here, the group has the USB drive, and then this is when Crave fully activates collaborative mode, right? I think the app is focused on Charlotte because I think Charlotte is the person that would probably want this. It was her original craving, her original request. But now that she's changed her mind, things are taking a turn for the worse. The school is in lockdown and things are just getting out of control. And as you can see here, Alexandra's in danger. So the guys have to stop it, including David trying to fix things. Very interesting stuff. I can't wait to see what happens. This is the penultimate issue. So like I'm a little sad that we're almost done, but I'm very excited to see how this story concludes. So if you're reading Crave, let me know what you thought about this issue. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Dungeons and Dragons Ravenloft Caravan of Curses number 1. This is a bit of an anthology book, kind of, in the way that it's presented. It is a bunch of stories that are related to each other, but this is a one shot. So, in this book, we have writing by Amy Chase and Casey Gilly, with art by Sylvia Califano, Eric Donovan, Jose Jarro, and Sarah Stern, colors by Adam Wazowski, Chris Peter, and Valentina Pinto, additional inks by Maria Keene, and letters by Enwell Design, Becca Carey, Jeff Eckleberry, and Jody Troutman. That's a lot of people working on this book, but it is a $10 book. It's an oversized book. So in this book, we welcome you to Ravenloft, the domains of dread, where horrors lurk around every corner and each day is a new nightmare waiting to unfurl. Join the crone and her gang of misfits as they travel to these dark realms, helping people break curses that have been placed on them for a price. An oversized one shot containing four terrifically terrifying short stories from writers Casey Gilly and Amy Chase, and an adventuring party of amazing artists. So, that's the reason we have so many people that worked on this book, because we do have technically four stories. Um, so in this book, we're kind of thrust into this creepy realms, right? We don't know much about this. We're following this party, and you just have all sorts of like unfortunate wandering souls laying around the world of D&D. Uh, but who's behind everything? We don't really know. We keep trying to the party tries to figure out who is giving out these curses, what's going on, why are people being cursed. um, and one of the things that really got me was that how the writers along with the team just kind of take us on a tour of all these things, right, very seamlessly. From what I gathered, like this really wanted to showcase a horror anthology feeling, and I think it really achieved that, because even though I'm not super well versed in the world of D&D, you don't really need to be for this. Like, I think if you are, you'll get a little bit more out of it because, of course, there's creatures that you'll recognize, or maybe locations, or if you the more you know about D&D, the more you're gonna get out of this book. But honestly, this just really gave me some kind of horror vibes, reminiscent of some of the old horror anthologies, like like Creepy Comics or EC, like stuff like that, that used to kind of keep you up at night. I think some of that, like, they really push it, and I think that's really cool. And of course, do these tales tell you a little bit about morality and about the world? Of course, but this also has everything is wrapped up in a really nice Dungeons and Dragon package. So overall, if you're into dark and twisted tales of moral ambiguity, I think this is yours for you. So just be prepared to enter a a world that is cursed, and of course, a world where the art will keep changing because each of these stories is done by a different artist. So let's go take a look at some of the preview art that I pulled. This is only from the first few pages, so you won't get to see everyone's art style, but I think it will give you a good idea of the tone. I love the little creatures. I love how everything really feels very special. And even though things look like they could be going in a good direction as we go into this ball, um, things just happen to escalate very quickly for a lot of these characters. And I think that's the fun part of this book. So, yeah, I am very excited. And like I mentioned, I think if you know more about D&D, you're going to get even more out of this book. So I would love to hear what were some of your favorite stories or Easter eggs were in the comments. So make sure to leave those down below. So if Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Sam and Twitch Case Files #1. This is a new book from Image Comics, from the Spawn universe, from what I can tell here. So let's take a look at the creative before we get into the book. This has a script and plot by Todd McFarlane with a co-plot by John Goff, art by Simon Kudransky, letters by FCO Placencia and Sheila Saldana on the flats, letters by Tom Erzakowski, and we have some other covers at the end of the video as well, so stay tuned for all that. So, as you guys may or may not know, I'm trying out the Spawn universe once again after reading issue 350, and this was another book that came out. It's a series premiere. So let me give you a quick synopsis of what's going on, then I'll talk more about why I wanted to check out this book. Your fan favorite detectives are back in their new ongoing series, Sam and Twitch Case Files. From the world of Spawn, acclaimed creator Todd McFarlane and artist Simon Kudronsky bring you to a tale of murder, intrigue, and deception in this noir crime drama. Um, so, as I mentioned, after reading Spawn 351, I think that the Spawn universe is doing kind of a bit of a not a reboot, but just like opening up an entry point for readers. Um, and so it's really they're trying to make it accessible, right? Once you're 30 years into Spawn, whatever the case may be, like it's tough. It's tough to like go back and read everything. You can, and it's been done, and people are doing it for sure. Uh, but yeah, I like to dip my toes into the Spawn universe every once in a while. I'm gonna keep reading Spawn for now. I need to find a good point to jump into King Spawn and the Scorch, which is kind of like the group of spawns. But about Sam and Twitch, I almost felt like these were like kind of side characters that have to live in that world. I was expecting a book similar to Gotham Central, that it's like based in the world, but you'd obviously it doesn't really focus around Spawn in this case. And I think that's exactly what I got. I don't know that I'm gonna keep reading this for now. Um, there was a few things in the book that, although I think it's pretty interesting what they're doing, I wasn't fully hooked by this first issue, so I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check out issue 2 before making a final decision. So let's go take a look at some of the art, because I think Simon Kudronsky has a very interesting approach to the art, and I don't know, just some of these sequences, they just look very very cool. Everything that's in the dark, the moonlight, the lighting in the shots, very very interesting setup. Then we get into the world and things get a little bit weird. One of the things that I noticed, and this is I don't know that I've seen many comic books do this. There's no word bubbles. Like, all the dialogue is there without a word bubble, and it's a very interesting choice. Obviously, it lets you see a little bit more of the art, but I don't know. It feels weird to me. It felt weird. It's definitely a choice, not one that kind of won me over. Um, but it's an interesting approach to this. I do appreciate the paneling, and like I said, this book, it gets really gnarly later on and violent. You can tell that Sam and Twitch are not like characters you constantly want to root for. I don't know that there's good guys and bad guys in this. I just think it's like this is the Spawn world, and it is what it is. So yeah, I don't know. And like I said, I'm gonna check out issue 2, and then from there I'll see if I want to keep reading this. But it's always really interesting, and it's always cool to check out new comic books that you have no idea what they're all about. Especially because, like I said, I don't know that I've seen anybody, or it's been a long time since I've seen a book without word bubbles. Like, the dialogue's just kind of there floating, and got the little arrows pointing at. I don't know. It's an interesting approach. I don't know that it fully won me over, but I do appreciate that it's something different. Um, but if you're a fan of Sam in Twitch, please let me know down in the comments. Is there anything else that you recommend me reading? Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 118. The Darkest Hour event continues. So let's take a look at the creative team here. This book is written by Melissa Flores with art by Simona Di Gianfelici and Marco Arena, with colors by Raul Angulo and assists by Jose Enriquez Fernandez, letters by Ed Dukeshire, and a cover by Torrin Clark. There are some more variant covers. You'll see those at the end of the video. So here we are continuing the events of Darkest Hour. In this issue, reality hits Mistress Vile hard, and she does the unthinkable, which puts her at dire straits to the point where her survival is on the line. As Dark Spectre's relentless assault continues, Mistress Vile finds refuge in a familiar place, but finds the most unexpected company. And most importantly, where will the fate lead a trapped Tommy desperate to reunite with the other Rangers? I think one of the things that I found most interesting, obviously, we left off at a really cool cliffhanger in the last issue, which was resolved very quickly. there's a lot of characters in here that I'm not familiar with because I only really know, like, if you've shown up in the original Power Rangers, I probably know a little bit about who these people are. Also, if you were part of the Shattered Grid storyline, I probably know a little bit more. But it's still really kind of cool to revisit. One of the things that I think Flores does very well is write out the conflict and distrust among the Rangers. There's still some things that they're not fully aligned on, and it's interesting to see, right? Because normally the Power Rangers are all kind of on the same wavelength, but now that there are more Rangers, the whole grid is in peril, and there's this trouble in the horizon. I think the Rangers definitely don't know exactly uh, what we're following the Pink Ranger the with that came from a different universe, so there's definitely a lot of things that are not as straightforward as the normal Rangers adventure. Um, I do think it's cool that we finally get what it feels like a win for the Power Rangers in this issue. I wonder how that's going to play out for the rest of the story. Also, in my notes, I just wrote towards the end, what the hell was that at the end? So stay tuned for that. Make sure to go read the book. I don't want to spoil anything. But let's take a look at some of the preview art here. I think very smartly, the editor of this book has put together a team of artists, as you can see from the credits, that work in a very similar style, right? I love the character designs. I like how they look. I really appreciate the giving us a nice setup shot, giving us these really cool looks at the villains as they are kind of going through their plans. And of course, the Rangers fighting putties, I'll never get over that. And then, as I mentioned, even at the base, there's distrust among the Rangers. Uh, you know, with this other Kimberly coming in from a different part of the grid, and even Zordon, I don't know that I've ever seen him be like, "You guys need to cool it. You guys need to chill out." And then, of course, we see everything, all the drama that's going on with Mistress Vile, the revelation as to she found Tommy in the last issue, so that should be very, very interesting to follow. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading this. Darkest Hour is shaping up to be a really fun event, along with the Return, which I'm also doing videos for. So make sure to go check that out. So I'm getting plenty of Power Rangers in my life at the moment. So if you are reading this, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Give me some recommendations to read about some of these characters that I'm not very familiar with. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.